What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get all into the topic for today, I would love it if you did the usual. Hit the like button, subscribe button, share button, and the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then when you're finished, leave me a comment below and I can get back to whatever it is that you have to say. For today's topic, I want to talk about something that often gets discussed when it comes to black representation. I want to talk about why we should not beg the dominant society to represent us as black people, especially foundational black Americans, properly, and why we need to create our own lane. So let's get into it. Before I dive really deep into this topic, I just want to say I do not want my message to get misconstrued, although I know there's a lot of you white supremacists out there who are going to take what I'm saying and flip it and say, yeah, that's what I meant, dude. That's what I meant. At the end of the day, you blacks just got to create your own thing. Stop taking the white superheroes. Like, I don't want y'all to get into all of that. My message is very clear. I do not align with this idea of those in the dominant society who go around browbeating black people as if we are taking white characters and then turning them black and then not creating our own thing or quote unquote complaining whenever we do not see proper representation. I do not align with these individuals because what they're saying and what I'm saying is totally different, although the message sounds the same. What they essentially are saying is we are a bunch of manipulative little bitches who can't create our own thing and do not have the creative juices to be able to come up with a product without stealing from other cultures, especially black cultures. And as a result, we take it, we exploit it, and then we whitewash it, and then we say that it's something that's original. And then when black people come around, they want representation because we have denied them from understanding their history and what we have done as well too. And as a result, we can make the world believe that they are complaining and they want representation, but they need to just make it on their own instead of begging us to do it correctly. That is what they are saying. This is what I'm saying. I'm speaking specifically to black people, not the world manipulatively. I'm not trying to oppress a bunch of people again like these mayo eaters out here. I'm talking to black people specifically. You want to create your own lane. You do not want to beg when it comes to representation, because the fact of the matter is that they will never represent you properly. Only you know your culture and can represent your culture in a way that is not disrespectful to you. And the dominant society has proven time and time again that they are not going to do that any differently. That is why they still in 2024 put in racist and other disrespectful anti-black images into their lore. There's a brother, and he is pretty prominent on Instagram. He has a pretty big following. I want to say his name is Tony Weaver Jr. I might have talked about him before on this platform. And I'm not going to denigrate him or talk, shit about him or anything like that, but I do want to say something about some of the talking points that he uses. I think his heart is in the good place because he talks a lot about black representation and how white people need therapy because of the fact that they are racist and they do not want to see black representation. And oftentimes when he's making these points, although he talks to an audience, there are interviews where he talks to other white people and he's sharing these ideals about how there needs to be proper representation of black people. So he's trying to be somewhat of an advocate for black representation while he is inside some of these spaces. While again, I think that there is I think he has good intentions. I think he's missing the mark. The reality is that you should never force someone to try to be something that you know that they are not. I would never try to force somebody to accept me when they have historically not accepted me. I would never try to befriend someone who has historically done bad things to me, such as stolen from me or killed my people or hurt me. I would never want to do that. And if you look at just the aspect of race alone, that is what the dominant society has done time and time again. They have shown you time and time again that they do not want to represent you properly. And even when they do represent you at all, it's always some type of manipulation, deceit, exploitation, making money off of you, disrespecting you, misrepresenting you, and all these other things that go on. So you really shouldn't beg for them to give you proper representation because they never intend to do so. So my point here is that Tony Weaver likes to go around and talk to people about how we need to be represented properly in media, and how like white people need to basically stop being so racist. And most of the time when he's talking about like white fans who are revolting against this idea of seeing black people on screen. Now, I was just in a live video recently and I was talking to this brother about this, but what actually is happening, and I think this is another thing that brother Tony is missing, is that there's this thing called the both sides agenda that happens. So in other words, you have whites in the dominant society who are producers, creators, etc., who are crafting these images, whether they're anti-black or whether it's some false representation narrative of black people. And then you have racist white nerd fans who are revolting whenever they see a black face. And what happens is black people tend to try to find a white person who is on they try to figure out which white people are on the good side and which white people are on the bad side. And they tend to boogeyman one group and then run to another group as if they're better. And we see this a lot of times too in things such as politics. But in the both sides narrative, the dominant society plays both sides. They often play oppressor and they often also play supporter as well too. They also work together in a way that causes confusion for blacks and ultimately black representation. And what does that look like? It looks like, for example, black people getting mad at racist white fans when the other people who are problematic are these producers who are putting out these false images of you or anti-black images of you despite it being called black representation, and then them not taking any heat. Meanwhile, they're making money off of your face. They're not representing you properly. They're also exposing you to this group of people who are negatively talking badly about you. Now, the other thing that they do sometimes in the both sides narrative is that they tend to say, you know what, we're not going to give proper black representation because we're going to give somewhat of a happy medium. We're going to portray you even if it's real janky so we can say that we portrayed you. You meet a diversity checkbox and you make money off of it, and you also appease the racist white fans. So to a certain extent they're still trying to appease them, which is why they try to still keep some of those white images or whitewash images around or put white people at the forefront of their lore, is because they're still trying to appease those fans. So that's why I say that there's a both sides agenda, and ultimately the dominant society works on both of those sides. Beyond that, my message today again is for black people specifically. Black people, you do not need to work from the inside of the dominant society and try to work your way up. A lot of times that is just a form of tokenism that you are buying into. This is a thing of you being a lackey for the dominant society. And eventually, those of you all who believe that this is a cheat code or some type of real gem that you unlocked, some of you all believe that this is something that is a secret that black people have not hacked. And as a result, you become prone to be okay with pushing the narratives that the dominant society wants you to push. You forget that the whole idea is to literally create independence for black people. And as a result, you make them once again dependent on the dominant society. We as a whole need to create our own product because once again, we are the only ones who can represent ourselves the way that we deserve to be represented. And that is done by doing multiple things. The first thing that we need to do is we need to have our own creators, our own writers. We need to have our own artists. We need to have our own people who have the imaginative and storytelling spirit. The next thing that we need to have is our own producers. We need to have individuals who are able to portray these images that were created in the best light, and they need to be on code with each other. Another thing that we need to have are production studios. We need to have people who are doing what, for example, Tyler Perry is doing, which is getting a bunch of money. Not like Tyler Perry, because Tyler Perry be samboing, but getting money so that we can create our own studios and our own production areas where we're able to put all of these things that we create into the limelight and to be able to show them without having any influence from the dominant society. Because a lot of times what they try to do nowadays is they try to make it seem like black people have some level of power in a lot of projects, but they like to Ronald McDonald them. So let me explain what that is. And a lot of TV shows, movies, and things like that that are produced in media, the dominant society tends to take their Negro flunky and then throw them in the forefront and make it seem like they're the person who's responsible for everything that happens with this thing that they create, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And the reason why I say it's like the Ronald McDonald agenda is because it's like Ronald McDonald with McDonald's. Every time you think of McDonald's, you think of this clown who was walking around buck dancing and doing everything to represent McDonald's. But ultimately, there's some CEO or somebody there who is making all of the money and has all these franchises and is able to have all these different investments. And the only person who is being seen is this Ronald McDonald character who will not even reap nearly half the things that the person who created this is actually reaping. And ultimately, they do everything that they say just like a clown. So they like to take black people and put them at the forefront of things. And you've seen this in, certain productions where, like, for example, you have like the Black Panther Wakanda Forever series, which was a total bust. And they put Ryan Coogler at the front and they try to blame Ryan Coogler for all the actions. Although Ryan Coogler did kind of play along with certain things, they try to blame him, for the actions of what happened or what went wrong with the movie. You had, and I'm going to go outside of media for a second, you had the Black Lives Matter thing where you had these 3 black women who were lesbians who were at the forefront of the movement, and they weren't really properly representing this idea of black empowerment and black activism because they were taking the money and then they were using the money for their own personal gains and things like that. And you had even on their website, again, they weren't even advocating for black men, so that already told you that there was something fishy going on. But the point is that they tend to take these different movements and things in media productions and they put black people in them. Or what they may do is they put a black person on there who is a director and they'll put another white director next to them, and usually it'll be a set of white directors or foreign white directors whose names you ain't never heard of before, and then they'll be a part of the project as well too, but they'll want you to focus on that one black person who's a part of it, which then tricks black people into thinking that these black people had a certain level of power when ultimately the dominant society had the last say in what happened. I also want to make it clear that my message about creating your own is not the same message as the Solution Sample class. I told you all about these solution samples, these folks who come into my content and then they start whining about how I need to create my own instead of whining about everybody else's product. And that's not what I'm doing whatsoever. Whenever black people are talking about what is happening, that is a report on the climate and what is happening in a system of white supremacy. So there's a difference between me saying this is what's happening in the area known as entertainment that is dominated by white supremacy versus me saying I want the dominant society who controls this product to change and represent me better. These are two different things. One is giving you information on what is happening, and the other is saying what I wish would happen within that system. But the Solution Sample class conflates me talking about racism, because ultimately the reason why they're trying to deflect is because they're Sambos and they don't want to hear that because they are hiding their off-code mentality, and ultimately they are attention whores. They are the biggest attention whores who have ever lived. They are a bunch of people who just want attention because their mama wasn't giving them attention growing up because she was getting passed around. And your daddy couldn't give you attention because he was gone and he was a deadbeat like Lou off of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So that's the reason why everybody wants so much attention, is because at the end of the day, they feel the need to want to be heard. It's an individual thing. And a Sambo, as we all know, is a very selfish individual. They actually don't care about the concept of empowerment. They don't care about all the layers that it takes to create this empowerment. And when we're talking about the space of media, there are multiple layers. You need to have your reporters who report on the climate. You need to have your creators who are your writers, your artists, and the people who have a vision of what they would like their product to look like. And you need to have producers who are going to put that in the forefront. And ultimately, after all this, you need your investors who are going to take all of these different types of people who are on code in the Black community, put them together so we can create a hub of entertainment, a hub where media shows Black people in a light that they deserve to be shown in. These damn solution symbols don't care about no damn solutions. That's why a lot of times they'll say stuff like, well, since there's a problem, what are the solutions? Because they know damn well that they're asking for solutions, but don't even know what the fucking problem is to begin with. So why even do that? Why even do that? The solution sample class does that because they ultimately want to deflect from the fact that they are off code. So they just throw shit at a wall and they see what sticks. And they're hoping that some other person who's listening, who is a Sambo just like them, will give them the attention that they feel that they deserve, and they will somehow go viral as a result of it. And we know it don't work like that. Black people need to create their own lane because this is the first step to being able to create freedom and independence. And ultimately, we really don't need the dominant society to create our own products. As a matter of fact, they need us. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I've said it in other videos. Just like sex sells, so does melanation. And they know that our melanin and our presence is going to create views. And some form of diversity is going to be desired in our society today, and will continue to be desired, especially in a world where everybody is trying to seek empowerment, whether it's fake or whether it's real. They also know that a lot of the stuff that they have created has come from our culture, and they've scalped it in order to create their lore in the first place. So really, they need us more than we need them. So we really don't need to beg, because ultimately we know that they are trying to disrespect us. But some of us are looking for those opportunities because we have decided that we're not going to fight back against them. We're just going to try to find comfort in white supremacy. That's why I always say this. A lot of you all who don't like racism are not, all of us are not created equal. A lot of you all who do not like racism don't try to stop it because it's bad. You try to stop it because it impacts you or people who look like you specifically. And in this context, I'm talking about within the Black community and the intersections of it. Or you're just trying to stop racism because you see that you fall into the category of those who it could impact. So as a result, you're not trying to create any type of empowerment. What you're really trying to do is trying to find comfort in the system of white supremacy that currently exists. Now, I want to be clear with y'all. I'm not saying that you should never work in the dominant society or within the dominant society to try to create some type of experience or to get your money up. I'm not saying that. As a matter of fact, I would say that some people should do that. But what I am saying is that if you are going to take that approach, then there needs to be a certain level of understanding and codification that needs to be within the mindset of that person who's doing that. You need to have a strategic plan about how this is going to be a benefit to Black society as a whole, not just yo, Sambo, and ass. You need to find a way to create a strategy, an exit strategy, that is, once you have gotten to the level of success that you needed to get to, so that you can create something tangible for Black people as a whole. But folks don't want to do that. You want to beg white people who really don't give a fuck about you to try to create a better image of you. And some of y'all do it out of fear because you think that somehow they're going to be mad at you and you're going to lose your life quicker, and they're already doing bad shit to us. Or some of you all think that if you do this, this is a way for you to feel like you have some sort of power. So you can't have real power. So you have to be able to find some kind of fake source of it to feel good about yourself like a damn loser. That's the problem with a lot of you Negroes. A lot of you silly ass Negroes are just too stuck on trying to have fake accolades instead of trying to have real empowerment. That's just the bottom line. So we need to just get out here, create our own thing. And if you are somebody who is not going to help us build, and you are somebody who's just going to sit around and start browbeating people about solutions to a problem you don't even know exists, then just shut the fuck up and just let us do our thing. If we're talking about racism, let us talk about it. If we're talking about trying to build something on our own and trying to put our product out there, just let us do it. But the last thing that we want to hear is you babble because you have nothing of value to add to the conversation. All right, y'all. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. And I definitely will have more to come. So make sure that you stick around and stay tuned. Other than that, I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's night. And I'll talk to you later. Peace.